Hey Mark, how you doing? We're all back from Click, aren't we? Click Live.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we had a good time there, didn't we?
We did actually. Yeah, it's a show that I hope proves to be successful for
Yes,
Charlie and the rest of his team as well. And I hope
yeah.
it's something that continues in the future as well.
I mean, it's
Um,
very early days. There's a lot of things to sort of improve upon, I guess, but I think it's a
that's
good
right.
start. It's a good
I think
start
so.
for.
For anyone that didn't go, I think it's definitely worth having in your diary for next year.
Yeah,
I know a lot
absolutely.
of people didn't go because they were thinking, "Oh, I'm not quite sure what this is. Is it going to be worth
Mm,
it?" Well, I think it is worth it. I
yeah.
think you should we'll try and go. We found something quite interesting coming away from that show, didn't we?
Well, yeah, because obviously we did some of those videos. I mean, yeah, we obviously we're going to talk a couple of things today. Later on, we want to talk about sort of Instagram AI, sort of how they're kind of
Yeah,
labeling things with made with AI. But before we go into that, obviously we did the Click Live show, and we basically we always do these little pop like vox pop things, don't we? And generally, the question we ask is who's your what's your camera brand? What's your favorite camera brand? And we did that for the photography show as well, didn't we?
mm.
And both times, out of all the videos we do, right, and we put a lot of work into some of these videos, right? We do some little video like that, and it's got over 10,000 views on YouTube,
that
which is
was that.
pretty good
I
for
know.
us.
I know,
Um,
which that was in a couple of days, and
yeah,
I think the
over
photography show went way over that.
yeah.
So
So all these videos we make, and then we do a little thing like that, and that's the one that gets big views. It's obviously very important to people about camera brand loyalty and what camera brands people go for. Um, and yeah, I think we probably need to
why is it? Yeah, why
let's
is
have a
it so
talk
popular?
about it. Yeah,
Well,
why?
well, the thing is, it's like phones, really. When someone says, "Oh, what phone?" See, I've got a Samsung Flip, and
Yeah,
people take the Mickey out of me because it's got a fold, or it's got a crease in it,
it's
and
got
all
a
that.
crease in the
It's
middle of the
only,
screen.
it's only because they're jealous. It's because they're thinking, "Yeah, actually, that's
Oh,
quite cool," right?
not a
So,
chance.
right, and let's be honest, the fold, whether you like it or not, is amazing technology.
It
You
is
know,
yeah, of course it is. Of
it is,
course it is.
it is incredible technology. But people say, "Oh no, I'm iPhone all the way. I'm Apple all the way." And some people are Samsung, and they're like, "Oh, I no, I hate iPhone," and type of thing. And
Well, I
then
guess it comes to certain things, though, doesn't it? I mean, I'm one of those people who I think I'll be iPhone for a long time, mainly because
mm,
I'm in the ecosystem, you know. So I have a
yes, of
Mac, I have
course,
an iPad, I got a MacBook Pro,
they have
and
you.
I've got yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, I can copy and paste, I can copy something off the internet, say a sentence off the internet on my phone, and then I can paste it on my Mac.
Mm,
That's crazy, right? I mean,
yeah, yeah,
that you know, and if I was to get like a Samsung, that would just be out of the ecosystem. You know, it's not
yeah.
you know.
No, I get that. And the thing is, I'm always one for change. I've gone from Apple to
Mm,
Samsung, and I've been with Samsung for a while. And I have a feeling actually I might go to Apple when my contract expires for this,
yeah,
the current one that I've got for 2 years, just because I'm always just a
fed
piece
up
of
of the
change, really.
you're fed up of the crease,
Just
so yeah.
change. I love that. I love the craze. Anyway, so camera brands, okay. So I don't know because I've not looked, but what was the count? Can you remember? Because we said, "What's your favorite camera brand?" And yeah,
Yeah,
we had
I think
Nikon, we had Nikon, we had Nikon, we had Canon,
Nikon. Yeah,
right?
there was a bit of
Uh,
a there's a few comments on that, wasn't there, on the photo show one about
always
how
is,
people
yeah.
should yeah pronounce it. I tell you what, I'm just gonna have a look and I'll see. I can't
Okay,
remember. I think Canon won by one.
okay.
Um,
I mean, we didn't ask that many people, to be fair. I think we
no,
asked
we didn't.
9 or 10
It was 10
people.
people. 10
Okay,
people.
so it wasn't a big survey, and
No, not
and
at
uh,
all.
and we're not saying whoever came out on top was the best because or is the best. It's more a case of what is the loyalty? Why do we have such a loyalty to camera brands? And I think that's the biggest thing. And you're always going to get, I think, Nikon, Canon. uh then I would probably say Sony would probably be the most popular. They would be my three sort of brands that I would think straight away would be going to be the three most popular.
Well,
After
the
that,
results were after all the people that we
hmm,
asked, we had
yeah,
four people say Canon, three people say Nikon or Nikon, whichever where you are.
yeah,
Two people said Sony,
uh,
and then one person said Olympus and one person said Fuji.
Okay.
So yeah,
Interesting. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's tight. I mean, it's not a a conclusive victory for Canon, is it? It's
No,
by
that's
one
right. Yeah.
after Nikon, and so it
You're
basically
waiting for
goes
that.
4-3-2. So
You're waiting for that one person to say Leica, aren't you?
I think we had that in the photo show.
I think
Actually, I
we
think
did.
someone did say Leica,
We did. That's right. Yeah.
oh no, someone's complaining that no one said Leica. Anyway, Leicas are too
Uh,
expensive. That's the problem with them.
yeah. That's right. Yeah. Well, no, you say that. You
Mhm.
say that they are expensive for a reason, aren't they? I mean, they're bulletproof. Well,
No,
they
not
have a
all of them are.
bulletproof. Not
One of
all
them
of them.
was, and that
You
was
know,
like limited. One of them was 007, wasn't it?
that's
And
right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there was a Lenny Kravitz model. I mean, he's modeling now a pair of Ray Bans or something. So he's well on these cool brands. Old Lenny.
he
he's
certainly
looking
is.
good. He's looking good for 60 though. Anyway,
Oh yeah.
that's right. Yeah. Anyway, so I I mean, I wonder how many people do actually change brands. If you start with Nikon, have you just stuck with Nikon? And I reckon that's probably the case with 90% of people.
Mm.
I'd like to ask that question. If someone says, what's your favorite camera brand? Nikon. And have you ever used any other brand? I would guess most people say, not really, no. I've had a go maybe, but not seriously.
I think you need to think about the age of the person you're asking, though. I think that varies.
Hmm.
So, some people, yeah, they would just have used Nikon. I think there's some photographers that we work with have only used one brand, but I'm sure a lot of them have yeah, depending on the age of the photographer, I think it is dependent on whether they've used other brands or not.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But I think that, as I said, the loyalty comes from the first camera that you use, and once you start buying maybe an extra lens, again, you are caught up in that system, or
Yeah.
at least I'd like to say you think you're caught up in that system, but you're not caught up in that system. If you want to get out of that system, you can get out of that system just by selling what you've got and going into another system. And I've done that. I've gone from
Mm,
Nikon to Sony, back to Nikon, and then to Canon.
mm.
I've bought and sold. But that's the nature
Yeah.
of perhaps professional photography as well.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's different to what I was saying with the ecosystem of computers, because to change a computer system, although I know you have done that,
Mm,
um, I would find that quite an upheaval, to be honest, more so than changing camera systems.
mm.
Does that make
Yeah.
if that
Well,
makes
the thing
sense?
is, I get, yeah, that's true actually, because I went from PC to Mac, back to PC, and now actually, in actual fact, we've got rid of. I mean, we had 6 PCs here at the office at one point, and we've now got one that is not used at all. But we've left it there on standby just in case,
Mm,
because after COVID, we all just went laptop. Everything went laptop,
yeah.
and the laptop I've got is an Asus ZenBook Pro Art Studio Book. I'm looking, brilliant laptop,
Mm,
absolutely love it, but I've got a feeling that when I do change, I may go to Mac just for a change. I think it's good. It's just good to change. I think it's good to be aware of, other systems and how they work and that type of thing. I
well,
think we
Jordan
can.
uses one, doesn't he now?
Yeah,
So
that's right. Yes.
Jordan, the
Yeah.
videographer who
Yeah,
works,
that's right. He uses Mac.
he uses a Mac.
And the reason why we said let's get a Mac is because I have to be honest, we did think it was going to be the one that was going to work the quickest, the most efficient,
Mm,
more so than the Asus Pro Art, but that I've got, which is great. But I think I have to say, I think Mac does work smoother. I think it is more efficient. It is
mm,
quicker than normal PC.
mm.
But PC has its advantages. They're not as expensive.
That is the big one, isn't it?
They have caught up with Mac for so many things.
Mm,
There's more options with PC. We know with Mac they like to try and tie you in, and the MacBooks are getting thinner and thinner because they're
mm.
doing away with all the slots. So you have to buy all these peripherals. Um, you know,
Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, I think you're talking about the USB-C ports, aren't you?
mm,
Because I mean, my MacBook Pro, which I think is the same as Jordan's, there's no. Did they call it USB-A? I don't know, but
that's
the
right. Yeah,
original USB slots, there's
yeah,
none of those. They're all
yeah,
USB-C,
yeah.
which is slightly annoying because you do have to buy. I mean, I buy other leads for them because I don't like the hubs really. But it is quicker. That's one of the reasons why it's quicker, because USB-C is quicker. The other thing that, I mean, we kind of digressed over to computers for a minute, haven't we? But we'll
Mm.
go back to cameras in a minute, I promise. Obviously, with the
I think
Mac,
it all. I think
yeah,
it relates because it's tech, and our computers are.
Well, they're part of your toolkit, aren't they?
they're a big part of the
Yeah,
photographer's toolkit.
yeah.
They're a big part of the photographer's toolkit.
But one of the biggest differences between Mac and PC is that Apple makes all their stuff. Do you know what I mean? All the components are Mac,
Mm,
whereas PCs, it's not. So you have different companies making different bits, and they've all got
that's
to
right.
work
Yeah.
together, and that's the difference really. And that's Mac
Yeah.
has complete, Apple have complete control over what goes in there and how it all runs, and it's designed up, I guess, in that respect. But
Exactly. And that's not the case with camera manufacturers, is it? I
no,
think some camera manufacturers use Sony parts and other parts, don't they? I think that's quite well known.
yeah,
Not
I
quite
mean,
sure exactly what sensors and things come from, because Sony are much more than just camera manufacturers, aren't they? They've got
mm,
everything else. Sony within their range of electronic products, they do a huge range of things.
and I'm guessing a lot of that now is hush hush as well. Um, like it
Oh, of
used to
course it
be,
is. Yeah.
yeah, because it used to be with like own brands. And I worked for Jessops, and I knew
Yeah.
exactly who made their own brand photography paper, but I couldn't say who it was, and I'm still not going to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
But it wasn't Jessop's.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, no, it was. I probably just made a mistake there. It probably was
Yeah.
Jessop's, but blah blah
It was.
blah. But anyway,
It's the same as Jessop's. Yeah.
yeah, I'd say it was Jessop's. But I guess it's the same thing with camera manufacturers. That probably wasn't the case back in the film days. I'd imagine Nikon made
Mm,
all their parts, as did Canon and Pentax and all that. But I guess camera manufacturers suddenly had to be, computer tech manufacturers.
yeah. That's right. Yeah.
And because of the digital wave, and I think was it Kodak? Kodak made one of the first sensors, didn't they? And I think they were very much involved. I forgot who there was another company as well. I've forgotten who it was now off the top of my head.
Right.
It was Kodak and somebody else, I think, who really sort of got together. It might
Yeah.
have been Sony. I can't remember. Um,
But yeah, but it's funny when we talk about actual cameras. It's funny. I know that when we work, you and I both work with a number of different photographers, and you say,
mm,
"Oh, what camera are you using?" "Oh, I'm using the Z9. I'm using the
yeah.
R5, or I'm using the D850, or whatever it is," and you hand it over. You hand a Nikon over to a Canon user, and they'll all go, "Oh no, I don't quite like this sort of look," because everything's out of their sort of comfort zone.
Well,
You
they
know
do.
that
Yeah, the lenses
the
do zoom the wrong way. To be fair.
yeah. Oh, yeah. This zooms the right way and this zooms the wrong way, right? And all of that nonsense, right? But
Yeah, it's complete
I
nonsense.
quite. That's right, yeah. But I quite like the fact of being adaptable to change, and I don't think most photographers are, and I think that's wrong. I think they would just automatically, yeah, but I've got all the gear, I'm so invested in everything. As I've always said, I've always sort of looked at, okay, I need to upgrade here. I need to change my camera. But what's out there? What is the best
Mm,
thing? Okay, right. Well, I think Canon is far better than what I've got on Nikon. I'm just going to get rid of all of my Nikon stuff,
mm.
go to a new system. But it's also good to learn. It's also good to, it takes, as I said, it takes you out of your comfort zone for a while. And,
Yeah,
and we mentioned this many times, I prefer the Nikon menu system.
mhm.
I like the Canon for different reasons. The feel of the body I like. Um, it was doing things at the time when I bought mine that the Nikons were sort of lacking on, and the
Yeah,
Sonys.
yeah.
Sonys are great. Unfortunately, I think for me, for a lot of people, the Sony menu system is incredibly complicated.
Well, they have claimed
Um,
to have improved it, haven't they? I think.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, but it's
I
still,
haven't checked
it's
that
still
out.
very
So,
similar. But
mm,
I use Sony for video and I use Canon for photography, but I've still got a Nikon as a backup.
mm. Yeah, yeah.
You know,
I mean, I also think that there's something to be said for though the race to get the most tech. I mean, um, yeah, I think you're more into getting the newer tech than I am. To be fair, Cam, I think there is an
yes,
element of that. You know,
yeah, definitely,
I see. Well, it does the job I wanted to do, so I don't need to change it.
yeah,
You know, I one of the most one of the most important parts of my it just goes to me generally. One of the most important parts of my toolkit is obviously my car. Now, I've recently bought a new car,
yeah,
but it was reluctantly. I know my old car,
yeah,
it was pretty old.
yes,
Um,
yeah.
and I didn't really, I paid for it. It was all mine. I didn't want to pay for a new car, but it had done 155,000 miles. I do use
Oh
it for
no,
weddings and all that. And you think,
yeah,
okay, I need to now. It was very much reluctant. So I'm not necessarily, up for buying the latest thing, really.
yeah,
If my tool does the job I want it to do, then absolutely fine. Um, so that's probably one of the reasons why I don't change so much. So because I know when I got the Canon, the 5D Mark II, that was considered one of the best cameras in its range when I
Yeah,
got it. And then the Mark III was really good. And then it kind of dipped with the Mark IV. The Mark IV was quite as popular because I think at that point the Nikon had their equivalent was it the D750
yeah,
and is it the 850 as well?
yeah,
And they were considered awesome cameras, especially for weddings and stuff.
yeah.
But I didn't go, oh my word, I need to now swap to
No,
Nikon. I
yeah,
just kept I was like, well, my camera's doing what I wanted to do, so it's absolutely fine.
yeah,
And then in the end, I went over to the R6, which, massive time difference between the Mark III and the R6.
yeah, yeah,
Um, because I just didn't feel the need to until, and Canon kind of turned it on its head, was one of the better cameras to go. And that's when I
yeah.
decided to upgrade. So,
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I went from my D750 from the Nikon to Canon, but I used my D750 for years.
mm,
It wasn't just, I needed to jump to mirrorless. And that was the thing. I had DSLR. I needed to make that jump to mirrorless. Yes, we did go to Sony. So we did go from Nikon to Sony, but the Sony just wasn't cutting it for photography
mm,
for what we needed going back a few years ago. So, but however, for video, it was brilliant. So
yeah,
we kept all the Sony gear. Okay, and I then carried on back to the D750. Okay,
mm,
for photography, and I knew that I had to go mirrorless,
yeah,
and the best option at that point was the R6.
mm,
At that point, it was the best option, and now I know that the R6. There was no need for me to change the R6 for a number of years.
no,
Okay, and I won't do. I'll keep that. I won't change it because there's no reason for me to change it.
mm,
All I'm not saying I change my cameras regularly. What I'm saying is I do change it after a few years. I do
mm.
change it. However, I don't necessarily stick with the same brand. I think that's what I was probably saying.
But
You
here's a
know,
question for you.
yeah,
If because also you moved over to Canon, if you had waited just a couple more years, because now
mm,
Nikon have picked up their game massively with
yeah,
their mirrorless system, right? Which
yeah,
they were, a couple of years ago they were lagging behind
yeah,
a little bit. If you had waited just a couple of years and not bought the R6, you would, and then bought the Nikon,
yeah.
then you'd still have that Nikon, the lenses and all the Nikon stuff that you would have if you just waited those extra couple of years. That because that's essentially what I did. I
Yeah.
waited.
However, I was in a situation where I felt that I couldn't.
Right.
And I had to change because the camera was so heavily used. I really needed to
You
change.
needed to
I'd
change.
seen what mirrorless was. I saw the benefits of mirrorless having already got Sony, although we'd
Yeah.
shifted all of that for video.
Yeah.
So saw the benefits, and I just looked to see what was great out there. In actual fact, it was you that bought the R6, and I
Mm-hmm.
just said, "Wow!" And I thought,
Mm,
yes, I can see the difference.
mm,
And I also look at the difference between image quality between the D750 and the R6, and I think it's very very different. The R6
mm.
is so much better. You'd hope it would be too.
Well,
However,
yeah, of
saying
course.
that, the D750 is still a great camera. So anyone using the
Yeah.
D750 out there thinking, "Oh no, I've got D750, it's not very good." Oh no,
No.
it's still absolutely perfectly okay.
Yeah.
But when you do jump up and you do jump to mirrorless and you do spend more, you would expect. However, lenses change, and I've got really good lens as well
Mm-hmm.
for the Canon as well. So the lens is much better than the one I'm using on the D750.
Mm.
So maybe it's not the camera body, but it's actually the lens.
Well, it's
You
a bit
know,
of everything, isn't it? I mean, the
huge difference in
sensor.
lens.
I mean, the sensor of the R6 technically is lesser quality. If you go by megapixels, is lesser quality than the Mark III,
Yeah, that's
the
right.
5D Mark III. But I
But
mean,
let's just say that you're a newbie into photography, and I was teaching yesterday. I was with somebody, and she'd gone out and bought one of the Fujifilm cameras, um, and I think she bought it because it looked really cool. It's got that retro look.
yeah.
Okay, and I think a lot of people do that, and then they realize,
Mm,
oh, this camera is very manual, so it's probably
mm,
not the best camera to buy. I don't think the Fujifilms are the best cameras to buy if you don't really know anything about photography. I think they're great if you know how to handle a
yeah.
camera, then that's when you'll get the best out of it. Um, but what do people go for? Do they, do they, they're going to look at Canon, Nikon, Sony? I guess price point is going to come into it. But
Hmm.
but if you've and if you take a Sony, you take a Canon and a Nikon, and they're all the price the same, and features are more or less the same. Okay, which they probably have those branded in that category. I'm sure
Mm,
Sony have a £2,000 camera, Nikon have their equivalent £2,000 camera, and Canon have their
mm,
equivalent £2,000 camera. what would be the one to go for? What makes people go for a certain camera, a
Yeah.
certain brand? Sometimes there could be cashback going on at that time, or
Mm.
oh well, my dad always had Canon, and I
Yeah.
remember he used to love Canon, so I'm going to get Canon as well.
Well,
What makes people really think that
well,
they might just go by the megapixels it shoots, which
they might
when
do. I
which
think there's
really.
more. I think there's more factors to it than that, though. I mean, the reason
Mm,
I used to be a Nikon user, as I said many times before, I changed to Canon for the sole reason reasons because I was working for Venture and they use Canon. So
yeah,
I was so used to using a Canon when I went to upgrade, I was like, well, I might
exactly.
as well use, I might
That's
as well
right.
buy a Canon. That was the
Yeah,
only reason because I knew how a Canon worked.
yeah.
Um, and so that is the only reason why. Now, I guess there's all sorts of different reasons why. If you're at college and they have their in-store cameras, it might all be Canon or it might all be Nikon. And if that's the
Mm,
case, you would probably buy a Nikon equivalent or a Canon equivalent or a Sony
mm,
equivalent, depending on what it is those stores have
yeah.
at the college or uni. I think there's all sorts of different reasons. I do find it amazing though that people get so sort of brand loyal. I mean, I know we banter
No,
about it all the time.
very
Um,
defensive, aren't they? Yeah.
well, they are, and it just shows. I mean, 10,000 views on that.
Mm.
What is really just a 5 second video, really,
Yeah,
of
no,
us asking what's your favorite camera brand. I mean,
I
it's
know.
and it gets 10,000 views because people want to know, and people want to sort of back up their brand, and so yeah, it is kind of crazy, I'd
Yeah,
say.
that's right. Yeah. I would like everyone sort of listening though, that when they go to the next camera store or they go to the next trade show or they go to the next photography and video show, is to, if you're a Nikon user, go to the Canon stand with an open mind, go to the Sony stand with an open mind,
Mm,
go to the Olympus stand with an open mind and think, okay, let me see what they've got to offer. I'm thinking, I'm so invested into Nikon, I've got all the lenses. There's no point in me changing. Do you know what? You might be pleasantly surprised thinking, no, that's not changed. And I think the answer is, why are people so brand loyal? It's because they're scared. Okay. They're scared of jumping ship and changing. That's all it is.
mm.
They're going to get out of their comfort zone. And that's all it is.
We're
Not
also
because
worried
their
that
brand is the best. It's not because their
no,
brand is the best brand. Okay. Canon isn't the best brand. Nikon isn't the best brand. Sony's the best. The
no,
best brand is the one that you just think is the best brand. They're all as good
yeah.
as one another.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess there's some people that are worried, well, my Canon used to do this and now my Nikon doesn't, or
Mm.
whatever it is. And that's a big thing. I mean, I would probably counter what you said, as far as, yes, do go with an open mind and looking at that. But also, unless you really need to change up, don't change up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
um, like I said, I had my Mark II and my Mark III for ages before I changed up because
Yeah.
I didn't feel I needed to.
Yeah.
What I was getting from my Mark III was what I wanted, so it didn't matter.
Yeah.
It's only when it was shift to mirrorless, and I waited. Then you know, I remember at the time people were saying you should go to Sony because of their mirrorless,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, we were
I,
we were saying to you, go
yeah,
to Sony.
yeah,
We were really pushing Sony, and in the end, there was a,
yeah,
I won't go into why and whatever, but there was a real
yeah.
flaw with the Sonys at the
There
time.
was at the
A
time,
right,
yeah,
and the Canon sorted that when you bought the Canon. Thought, actually,
yeah.
hang on a minute, this
This is sorted.
and that's right. And if we were to
But that's
do,
my
sorry,
point. I didn't feel I
yeah,
needed to move at that point. Do you know what I mean? I was like, well,
that's right, yeah,
I'm seeing this flaw. Well, my camera doesn't have that. So
yeah, that's right,
what? Why? I mean, yes, there's some advantageous to seeing the viewfinder and the eye focus and all that, but I can do it without that. So it doesn't
yeah,
matter.
that's
And
right,
that
yeah.
was and that's the point. It's only when it came to a point. Actually, now there's a camera I can feel that I can upgrade to. That's when
Yeah.
I did.
And for people that are wondering what the flaw was, I will go back to it. But if we were out shooting with flash in the evening, a dedicated flash on top of
Mm,
the camera wasn't firing. It wasn't being able to pick up on the sensor, and we spent a lot of time investigating this. And so we would be going out to shoot an event, and during the day we'd be shooting on the Sony Work Like a Dream, and in the evening
mm,
we'd switch back to DSLR. But we were missing so much stuff. We spoke to Sony about this, and they couldn't answer the question. And we said,
mm,
"There's a major flaw here with mirrorless. What's going on?" And then you bought the Canon and said,
mm.
"No, there's no problem at all." And I tested it. Canon was brilliant.
Yeah.
So great. Okay, we need to go. Sony haven't got this, and we asked Sony. Sony spoke to us about it. They
Mm,
said, actually, do you know what? You're right. This doesn't, and I couldn't believe that more people hadn't sort of questioned this. Oh, well, they
Mm,
had, because we did a lot of research online.
mm.
And so in the end, we were going to every event we were doing, every job, we had to make sure that we had the DSLR with us as a backup just in case.
It just seemed pointless to me.
That's right. Yeah. And it
You need
was
a camera
really
to see the whole thing.
and it was so frustrating. But anyway,
Anyway,
those things. Okay, good stuff, Mark.
yeah,
Let's grab a drink.
absolutely.
Right, Mark. So, in recent weeks and months, we've been talking about AI quite a lot.
Do you know what? I think the whole world has been, Cam. I think whatever type of, whether you're
Yeah,
looking at listen to a politics show, whether it's another tech show, or whether it's a cooking show, even, I think AI is just it's just the hot topic of the
right.
day at the moment, isn't
And
it?
yeah, and I hate myself for sort of thinking, okay, saying, okay, right, we're going to be talking about something, and it's about AI, because we don't want listeners to think, oh, it's AI, and I don't know anything about AI, and
Mm,
I've got no real knowledge of AI. I don't think most people have got any real knowledge of AI. My knowledge for AI is very, very limited,
mm,
and so. I don't do my own editing, so that's outsourced. And I think a lot
mm,
of it, what I do, is actually done through AI, but I have no knowledge of actually, say, using AI in Photoshop, say, for
mm,
example. Okay, so
mm,
my knowledge for it is limited, than I think more limited than most, actually, photographers and sort of
mm.
creatives, shall we say. Um, but this is this AI story is quite interesting,
Well,
particularly
it's
for
not.
those.
I guess it's not particularly about AI. It's just kind of includes AI, doesn't it? It's more
Yeah.
about. Well, I don't know. I mean, is an Instagram algorithm AI in itself? So is that?
Well, what we
Have
said,
I
what,
just
what
blown
the
the internet with that question? I don't know, but
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's an interesting article that's we'll give a shout out to F Stoppers.
yeah,
In our trawl for sort of
I do like
you
an
know
F stoppers
in,
read.
in, in interesting story. Look, and this one was put out by written by Wasim Ahmed.
Mm,
It says Instagram's ham-fisted approach to labeling photos as AI is bad for creatives.
yeah.
And just a brief, and I'll read a little bit of this.
Well,
It
shall we
says,
just get into the just a bit of an explainer about this? So
yeah,
basically, Instagram, and I'm guessing other social media outlets doing this or about to do it, have put into their algorithm to search for uh, instances where images have been made using AI. Now, I guess the reason for this is to stop is so that people know that a photographer hasn't taken this or it's difference between, I guess, real and fake. I think
hmm,
is what's going on here. As far as AI is concerned, or that an image hasn't been stolen from somewhere else. So I understand why Instagram and that they've decided to put this into their algorithms, but as usual, they've kind of done a rubbish job on it, which Cam, you're about to explain why.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I'll read part of the article so that we sort of so we can be fairly accurate. It says in the last week, Instagram has been automatically labeling any photo touched by artificial intelligence tools as made with AI. And it says on the surface, this sounds like a win for photographers, decrying the use of AI as intellectual property theft. But in practice, the way Meta has decided to call out AI leaves little room for nuance and debate. So they've done some tests and uploaded some images, and on one of the images, it says here the photographer put the image into Photoshop, and it says I made fairly ordinary Photoshop edits that are typically my non-journalistic work. And in the process, I lassoed a small section at the edge of the frame and told generative AI to remove the highlight. And it shows before and after results. It says,
Mm,
imagine my surprise when upon upload, prominently at the top of the post, Instagram labeled it made with AI. And
mm,
it says, well, no, I lassoed a small section of the photo and had made AI make an edit. It's the same edit that I could have made with the clone tool and a little extra time. The end
mm,
result would have been almost exactly the same, but one photo would get flagged and one would not.
mm,
So it's obviously going to be open to, you know, what their algorithm classes as AI. Somebody may well clone something in Photoshop, but it may well pick up that, oh, this is done with AI.
Yeah.
So whether it should say this is AI or this image has been edited, I saw a photo on social media going back last week. It was a picture of it's a black and white picture and of Eric Clapton and Robert Plant standing at a bus stop.
Right.
And I looked at it and I thought, and this was a picture that was taken, I think, in the 80s. And I
Mhm.
looked at it, I thought, oh wow, that's interesting. I wonder what the story is behind this. But within the comments, somebody put, "This isn't real. This is what I hate
Yeah.
about this sort of thing." And it looked pretty real to me. Okay.
Well, do you remember
You
when I
know,
sent you those messages about that band? So I got suckered
mm,
hook, line, and
yeah,
sinker with this because
that's
I
right.
just thought it was
Yeah.
amazing. To be honest, I should have read into it a bit more and realized because so basically it was footage of a band in the iconic CBGBs. Now that should have rung a bell because I don't think CBGBs is even open anymore, is it? I don't
Right.
know.
Don't
I could
know.
be wrong. I could be wrong with that, but and it was a Sikh punk band. So of
Mm,
course, and it was called the band was called Seek of It All. So of
that's
course, the
right.
first person I had to send these pictures to were you, Cam, because I just thought
Exactly. I thought it
these
was
pictures
great.
are brilliant, and I was like, I've got to hear their music. I've got to see
I
it.
did as well. That's right.
I
Yeah.
couldn't find them anywhere on Spotify. And then
Yeah.
I did a little bit more research, realized, oh, these are AI pictures. This band never existed. And
I know.
I was
And
gutted.
I know, because I was thinking, oh, I really wanted to
These
hear
guys
these
look
guys.
wicked.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought that was quite good actually. It provoked a sort of like a funny story. I thought they were real,
Yeah.
but isn't it great and all of that? That's
Mm.
what art is all about. It's
Yeah.
creating a reaction and doing all of that. And I think that was done in a sort of let's not say a jokey way because it was done so well. It was
It
oh, I thought it was
was.
absolutely brilliant. So let's give whoever created that real credit for creating something that was I think was absolutely fantastic. Okay.
Yeah. But
However,
I was fooled.
I know, but let's just say that if they wanted to fool, they certainly fooled people as well. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was disappointing that it wasn't real. Okay. But let's just say there was this picture of Robert Plant and Eric Clapton standing at a bus stop, and that has been faked, but
Mm.
it doesn't say it's been faked.
Yeah.
Then I think that's wrong. Then that you can't do that. You've got
Mm.
to and I think that's misinformation. That's
Yes.
misleading people.
It is. It is. I think there is a difference, isn't there? I mean, this is the thing with AI. This is why there's such a big conversation about it at the moment. Because on one hand, it really does aid you when it comes to things like editing, like content create. I mean, we saw going back to Click Live, we saw that amazing system. Is it Imagine? I think it's called. It's a
Yeah,
plugin for Photoshop,
yeah,
and it learns how you edit your weddings after was it 3,000 edits or something. Well, then you can
yeah.
just press and it edits like you, which in some respects you kind of think, oh no, but I thought I was individual in what I was doing, and it's got my stamp on it and stuff. And but on the other hand, well, that saves me a good few hours editing this blooming wedding. So
Mm,
you know, it is that argument, isn't it? And then you got the other stuff that is basically that could be considered as theft.
mm,
When you get all these other images amalgamated into another image
yeah,
by whatever yeah,
yeah. And
well,
on
by
this,
whatever system it is. But
within this article, it also goes on. It shows another picture of a car where it's just a car,
mm,
and the it says AI was used to remove the front license plate from this car.
mm,
And it says the only AI crime, so to speak, in this photo is using it to remove the front license plate of this car. It's something I would file under the category of retouching work and not generating an image completely with AI.
yeah, yeah,
And it says if an edit like this is demonized, why even have AI tools in the first place? So the
mm,
car number plate has been removed using AI, but you could easily just do that through normal editing. It's just quick just to
yeah,
do it through AI.
yeah,
But so is it unfair that any sort of editing now, if it's done sort of with AI that could be done through normal editing, it's flagged up as AI? And it goes on to say it about event photographers because it could cause event photographers issues because event photographers are going to retouch, they're going to edit some images, and suddenly, if let's say you've taken a picture of two people at an event and in the background was a little sign like a fire exit sign, and you
yeah,
remove that using AI, and that picture then has AI, as an like this was produced by AI
by
label on it.
AI,
Are,
yeah,
are then people going to think, oh, well, this picture isn't real. Those two people weren't actually there. They weren't
Yeah.
actually together.
Yeah.
Yes, they were. The only thing AI did was remove the fire exit sign in the background.
And that's the problem. And I think this is why
Mm,
the AI, it's the algorithm really that's so clunky. Like it said right at the beginning of that article that you're reading, when it's said this is made by AI, there's little nuance for
mm,
or debate with this, isn't it? It's like yes, technically AI has been used, but it's very different to creating the whole thing from AI. This is a photograph I've taken, and I've used a couple of tools just to improve the image a little bit here and there. I mean, when I read this article, I did look back on all my time punk stuff and see if any of that said made with AI, because I know some of the backgrounds that I purchased from a stock company was made with AI.
mm.
But
Yeah,
because I was
that's right.
doing a
Yeah.
sci-fi type thing, know,
Mm,
no, I'm not surprised it's made by AI, because to create this thing, these things don't exist in our in
mm,
reality. So, and I've used some of those backdrops, but all it was the backdrop, and then I did all my editing and all my usual composite work on top. And I did
mm,
look back and see if it said made with AI, and it hasn't. Maybe because my
mm,
images aren't as popular, maybe.
mm,
But perhaps, and that would be annoying, because actually then that sort of people will think, oh, I thought he edited those. I thought he did them himself. Now it looks like he just did it by pressing a AI button. And I didn't, it was all
mm.
done by me. It's just the background I used was created using AI. Um,
Yeah, and I like reading some of the comments as well. Because I think when you read some of the comments that people say, so it says, "So is this really Instagram's fault or Adobe's fault or both?" And it says both. They are coordinating with each other. And it says, and from what I read, they are expanding their collaboration with others. So there's obviously a tie in there as well. It
mm.
says, I don't really get the frustration. Did you use AI tools? Yes. If you don't like it, and you could have made it with the clone tool and a little extra time, then you could avoid this problem. It's
Well, that
your
person
choice
isn't
to.
a, well, that
It's
commenter
you.
is not a pro photographer.
Yeah, it's your choice to use the
Straight away.
tools. And then the person that actually wrote the article also comments saying time is money, right? Which I
There
agree.
you go.
It says
Yeah.
I can make the same image with a film and a darkroom. So why not do that? It's
Yeah.
being shamed for the choice that seems to be a legitimate one under certain circumstances. That's the problem. Why don't we start labeling all photos that have been cropped since they're removing key context? Or what
Yep.
about photos that have used a healing brush, which is
Yep.
kind of like pre AI type tool,
Yep.
which is true, you know.
Liquify and all of that.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's right. Yeah, and it says this picture. Someone talks about the car where the number plate's been removed. It says this picture is real. It's only been retouched. There's no
Mm,
point in being purist about this. Otherwise, photography would be simple point and shoot.
mm,
So it says you talk of how removing the license plate can't be done with cropping. So it makes the image unreal. But what about removing other things that are at the edge of the frame and so can be cropped? It's all the
mm.
same. It's removal. So
Yep.
this is going to be, it is going to be difficult. But
Mm,
someone else says something interesting about the car picture, because this is true, because it looks like it's a car for sale.
mm,
It says, I couldn't disagree more about the photo of the car being real. If you took a picture of the car for sale and removed scratches on paint, would it still be real? Claiming that it's a real picture of a car would not be a lie. Not showing the side with scratches could be called misinformation or
mm,
manipulation,
mm,
but not a lie.
mm,
Okay. As long as you don't claim there are no scratches, showing a part which scratches removed is a lie. And
mm,
that's the main difference. So it says claiming the car looks like this would be a lie, because in real life there would be a license plate or mounting point, so the picture isn't real. So
mm.
you could go backwards
Yeah.
and forwards about this,
Well, going
and
about the car as well. I mean, I sold my old car. I mean, I spoke
yeah,
about I bought a car recently. I sold my old one, um,
mm.
and I had scraped it down the sides. That was what
Yes, I
prompted
was with
me
you.
to, yeah, that was what prompted me to sell the thing in the end. But of course, I couldn't remove that scratch because it's misinformation. However, when I took my pictures for a well-known second-hand car sales website, begins with A. I did use my I used my R6. I wanted to make the pictures look. And did I valet the car? Yes, I did. Is that
Yeah,
me? I think I don't know how many times I actually got that car valeted. Not many times, but I valeted it
mm.
for those photos. So again, does
Yeah,
that make it a lie?
that's right.
You
Yeah,
know, it can
um,
really go down the route of all these things. I think
it's true.
really it's just about, was that image created? Was that car there when you
Yeah,
took the photo? Is that
yeah,
actually a real car you're seeing? And if the answer is yes, then that's the difference between whether it's a lie or not. Because if it's
Yeah.
generated by AI, then the assumption is that car never existed and was never there. It's just been created by
Mm.
AI, and that's the difference.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it says here, the big difference is between made with AI versus used AI.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
if you put made with AI, then that's very different saying used AI.
yeah.
So used AI might just mean a simple edit, a simple
Mm.
retouch in Photoshop. Now, while we were talking about this, I was thinking about a way around it. And in actual fact, someone has actually mentioned the way around it that I was thinking that I was
Okay.
going to bring up just at the end. And it's actually there. It says there is a pretty easy work around this because I was trying to think about this, thinking, actually, hang on a minute. What happens when you save the image? Okay. So you edit in Photoshop.
Mm.
Okay. And or whatever editing program that you're using, and it's got AI. When you save the image, if you saved it differently, would that make a difference? And someone says this is a pretty easy workaround to this dishonestly. It says, though probably several of them, it says in Photoshop, create a new document, copy the original, paste it into a new document, flatten it, and then save as usual. Now,
Ah,
I don't
problem
think
solved.
I don't think you even need to put it into a new document. I don't think you need to do that. I think when you save it, you just flatten the image.
Well, no, because all these images that are on Instagram are flattened.
They're all flattened, aren't they? Yeah. So there's something. Yeah, you've just put. Yeah,
So
you're
there's
right. Put it
something.
into a new
So
document.
there's
Yeah.
obviously a code within the digital image
Yes.
that
Yeah.
says this has been done with AI. Now
Yeah.
that code may copy over onto the new
Yeah.
document. I don't know.
Yeah. Actually, hang on. That's been poo-pooed in the comment
Yeah.
after that. Okay. So it says prove me wrong, and it's proved this other person wrong. It says so the person that wrote the article wrote reply back. So it says so I gave that method a try. It's not just in the metadata of the file. It's something at the pixel level because
Yeah.
copying and pasting
Yeah.
into a new document, then uploading into Instagram still triggers the made with AI label.
Mm.
It seems currently the only way to avoid that is the is the janky Instagram uploader from a web browser on an actual desktop or laptop computer. I'm not sure what janky means there.
No, not
But
sure what that is.
anyway, so uh, um, and someone says, looks like I've discovered another workaround. I was exporting to JPEG files and that was triggering the label. When I did the same exact steps with the PNG file, then it didn't add the label. That's what I was thinking. If you saved it as something else, a PNG, right, then yes, then that gets around it. Because
I
I
can't.
upload PNGs. I upload
Yeah.
PNGs onto, but then I use something like Canva for certain things. It saves it as a
Mm.
PNG. So there are ways around it,
I'm sure
I
that'll be sus
guess.
because I
Yeah.
can't really see how changing to a PNG would
Mm,
hide the fact that
mm.
these pixels have
Uh,
been manipulated using AI. I don't know.
I
But the
love.
fact of the matter is, we shouldn't have to go to those things. There's a difference. Like
No,
I just said earlier, there's a difference between like you said, use tools used AI. This has used AI tools to do a bit of touch up here and there, composed
yeah,
to this whole image was created by AI.
yeah, yeah,
There's a difference.
and yeah. Now I think that we have to be careful. I think one of the things where I would actually find it useful, and this is based directly for the consumer here, is when it comes to weddings. Okay, I
Mm,
think I think particularly a lot of wedding photographers when they post images onto social media, they should say used. It should say something like used with models or genuine wedding photo,
yeah.
or created with AI or AI. I think wedding photography is good because I think this is where a lot of consumers. This and when I say consumers, a lot of potential bride and grooms that are looking for a photographer will book a photographer based on what they see on Instagram, and they don't get the photographer that they expected, or they don't get, sorry, the images that they thought they were going to get. I need
Well,
to
I
find,
think
and
actually,
I
I'm
think
not
that,
sure about that.
mm,
I'm not sure
I
about
really
that.
do.
Yes, with the model part, I definitely think. I mean, I don't think you should say this was done at a real wedding.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess photographers tend to go, "Oh, I did this at Alison James's wedding. Check it out." Um, I think if you're using models for a wedding shot, then you should actually say something about that. Yes, I
yeah,
do.
yeah.
I don't think. I mean, unless you've actually created the whole image, you weren't at the wedding, and the whole wedding image is created by AI. I don't think you
Well,
should have to say if let's say someone is, I don't know, like you said, the fire escape sign has crept into a romantic
oh,
picture.
yeah, that's fine.
You
No, what
don't
I'm
need to
saying,
say about AI.
no, but I don't think that photographers should use models. I don't think they should set up their shoots. I can't remember what styled shoots. That's it, style
Yeah.
shoots, and then put that work out saying, "Here's my wedding photography." I think
Well,
wedding
I agree.
photography has got to be shown in the context of this was shot with a real couple on their actual wedding day. Not saying that.
But it should be the other
Fine,
way around. It should
fine,
be,
go.
this is not
Yeah,
a real wedding. That should
that's right.
be
Yeah,
what it is, that way round.
exactly. Fine, go and do a style shoot. Practice, use that for your training, for your practice.
Mm,
Incredibly valuable, and then recreate that on a real wedding and only put that picture out. Any
yeah.
style shoots should be for you to keep for yourself and not to actually put out there for advertising. I think it's wrong that wedding photographers do that. I'm sorry, it sounds quite strong, but that's something I do feel quite strongly about, and I think there should be, because that is a problem where a lot of couples, where things don't work out for couples, they'll say afterwards, well, actual fact, hang on a minute, this isn't what we were expecting. If
Yeah, but also I would just say, we live in a world where, people just want responses from people straight away. They'll only do things now online. I actually think, if you're going to have someone photograph, your special day, which, you shouldn't really, the idea is you're not going to have another one of these days, right? Then actually, you need to visit the photographer. You need to look through their portfolios. You need to look at their
mm,
albums. You need to do the research. I understand what you're saying, Cam, but I also think the onus is really as well on the clients to do a little bit of research. Don't be lazy and just look on Instagram and websites and stuff. Go and visit them. Do they have a premises? Do they want to come to see you and show you all their work? See a whole wedding shoot. Don't
it's exactly, yeah, yeah,
I find, oh, this wasn't the image thought I was getting. Well, then you should have done a bit more research in some respects. Do you know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
So it's both, I'd say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know but that is where, I mean, then you forget about AI. I mean, none
Mm.
of that's got anything to do with AI, has
No,
it? That's just
no.
showing. I think we're talking about our is what we're seeing genuine. It doesn't matter what sort of pictures, whether
Mm,
it's a wedding, whether it's a news story, whatever it is,
mm.
whether it is a piece of art. What are we looking at? And I think that's one way of putting it. Actually, it would be nice to know what we're looking at. It would be really useful rather than saying, is that real? Oh, I don't know. It'd be good to know straight away, oh, that's not real, because you'll probably find that you'll probably look at it that much more. If I think, I'm going to go back to that picture of Robert Plant and Eric Clapton at the bus
Clapton.
stop, right?
Yeah.
And I sort of dismissed it after that. I did think, oh, this is quite good. If it said, this picture isn't real, but it shows, I'd
Mm,
think, oh, actually, do you know what? I like that. That's really cool. And I'd be
mm.
more interested in that. And the fact that it's not real, I would know that it wasn't actually real.
Yeah.
And now I don't know if that picture was real or not. So
Yeah, I think yeah. No,
yeah,
I understand if it's, but photo manipulation has been there for a long time, even before digital technology was making it easier for us all. So
yeah,
we always, but the viewer also needs to be switched on and see. I mean, if you look at my time punk stuff, it's quite obvious
yeah.
that it's not real.
Oh, and that's obvious, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
That is, but I shot a real person. There's no doubt about it.
yeah,
It's a real model or cosplayer or whatever. But I
yeah,
have created this little universe out of Photoshop and my skills.
yeah,
But sometimes you gotta look for yourself. But with this AI thing, I think it's such new technology at the moment. I think people are still finding their way.
yeah,
I'm sure Instagram will sort this out eventually, but at the moment, if it says made with AI, just dig in a little more, because it might not be that the
yeah,
whole image was created with AI, but as we just discussed, a little content fill was used just to, I don't know, get rid of a sign or get rid of something
yeah.
that's a bit distracting, like the
That's right. Yeah.
highlights, or something
I mean, I
like
just found this picture, and it does actually say the press. It was shot in 1980 as a press conference reception for the release of The Summit, a compilation album aiding International Year of the Child. And this Phil Lynott is in it from Thin Lizzy. He's also there as well. And but somebody had put, now I wouldn't doubt that picture, but somebody had put somewhere that, oh, actually, hang on a minute, that's not real. Now, I don't know
Mm.
whether the person was just assuming that or putting it out there. I honestly don't know. So, but
Yeah,
you'll have to have a look at it there.
absolutely.
Um, and we'll put a link out for it as well.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we'll put some pictures on.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah,
good stuff.
awesome
Okay,
stuff. Right,
I think we're done. All things
we are.
photography and AI.
Need to do a shout out to our lovely patrons. Okay, so we have Amara Zainab, Frank Case, we have Carl Sherville, Rob Percy, Craig Chuck. I think that's everyone, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. So yeah, most appreciated. And please sign up to our Patreon if you like what you hear. You get early access to shows and all that kind of stuff. It's only £2.50. It's not even a pint these days. It used to be £2.50 a pint when I was about what 18. So that was a long time ago now. So only £2.50. Please, please, please. Every little bit helps, and it just means that we can carry on creating this content that we're hoping that you guys all enjoy.
Does indeed, guys. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
Bye for now, guys.
Cheers.